Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're taking a closer look at one of the most talked about coins, the 2003 Alabama State Quarter. There's been a buzz that this coin could be worth a whopping $2,500, and today we're going to explore where that idea comes from, what the real value is, and the history behind this special coin. Each coin has its own market value, history, and design. The Alabama Quarter is no exception. We'll dive into its design story, how many were made, and whether error versions really exist, and if they do, how much they might be worth. The 2003 Alabama State Quarter is one of those coins that's part of a special series the U.S. Mint made for every state between 1999 and 2008. On this coin, issued in March 2003, you see Helen Keller seated in a rocking chair, the words, "Spirit of Courage," "Pine Branches," "Magnolia Blossoms," and even her name written in Braille. It's such a unique design, aimed at honoring her life and legacy as a blind and deaf icon from Alabama. Since so many pennies and nickels wind up in people's pockets, this one stood out by putting something meaningful and educational right on a quarter. A lot of school kids helped come up with designs, but the governor ended up choosing Helen Keller instead of the state capitol building, which some folks thought was unusual, but it turned out to be a strong statement. Millions of these were made, over 232 million at the Denver Mint alone. Totals from Philadelphia and San Francisco, where proofs were minted, add even more, especially with special collector versions made from silver. In other words, while it's a meaningful and pretty design, this coin isn't rare just because of how many exist. Now, let's talk value, but keep it simple. Most of these coins you find in your change are only worth a quarter, literally 25 cents. That's because in the U.S., unless a coin is rare or in perfect shape, most modern coins stay face value. If you have one in mint, uncirculated condition, you might get $1 or $2 for it. Some of the very high-grade coins have sold for a bit more. For example, when certified mint state 6.7, sale prices have reached around $24, and there are extremely rare MS68 examples that reached more, but those are very, very few. Broad estimates from coin tracking websites confirm that circulated 2003 Alabama State Quarters are generally worth about 25 cents, and uncirculated ones might be worth up to a couple of dollars. Coin trackers, coin identifier, silver recyclers, if you happen across a proof from the San Francisco Mint, those can go a little higher. Clad proof pieces may sell for around $6 in top condition, and silver proofs made for collectors might go for $5 to $10 depending on how well they've been preserved. Coin trackers sell rare coins. Every coin has its own market value, history, and design. That's why even though many people assume rare or special means lots of money, in this case, the typical coin is still just 25 cents unless it's in near-perfect condition or is a proof version. And yet, value isn't just about condition, it's also about being documented or proven unusual. Speaking of unusual, what about errors or misprints? Some coins become sought after because of weird mistakes during minting, things like missing layers, misaligned strikes, or doubled images. With the 2003 Alabama State Quarter, reliable numismatic sources say there are no widely recognized or officially documented major errors for the Denver version. In other words, experts don't know of any big mistake that would make one worth a fortune. Washington quarters sell rare coins. That doesn't mean every odd coin is worthless, just that nothing is confirmed or recognized as a distinct, valuable error. That said, there are some collector websites that list possible anomalies and even give them speculative values. They mention things like missing clad layers, misaligned strikes, or doubling errors. Some of these are valued at a few dozen dollars, maybe as high as $500 in certain rings, especially if someone has a good photo and it looks real. But those cases are small, not widely verified, and often rely on marketplace listings rather than expert grading. Real collectors might discuss weird examples they find on forums or Reddit. I found someone who shared they had an odd quarter with a planchet error. They asked if it's valuable. Assuming my read is right, is something like this of value to a collector? But there wasn't an expert consensus that it was worth anything major, they just weren't sure. Another person found one where the edge looked lighter and felt different, maybe like a trick or plated coin, not an actual mint error, and others commented it might just be plating or damage. Usually, third-party placements or plating were gimmicks, especially sold on TV to unsuspecting buyers. They don't actually add value. So if someone sees a listing online or hears someone claim a 2003 Alabama state quarter is worth $2,500, that's almost certainly not accurate. There's no documented sale or expert verified record of one selling for that much. It might be a misunderstanding, a mislabeled listing, or an error from a totally different state. Some state quarters, like certain Illinois or Maine errors, have reached auction prices like $2,300 for high-grade errors or unusual die varieties. But that sort of value is not connected to the Alabama quarter, unless unexpectedly authenticated as something unique. Some discussion boards even jokingly suggest extra leaf errors are possible in the Alabama quarter, similar to the famous Wisconsin extra leaf error, but these are not verified by experts and might just be normal die varieties, not really rare errors. Overall, unless your coin looks atypical and you actually have it graded by a reputable coin grading service like PCGS or NGC, its value will likely be near face value, or maybe a few dollars if it's uncirculated. I want to say again, each coin has its own market value, history, and design. What makes collecting fun is recognizing a piece may look ordinary but might have a story, whether about the design, how many were made, or if it's slightly different due to wear or a minting anomaly. But the 2003 Alabama state quarter, in most cases, is not high value. It's likely worth just 25 cents in your change, maybe $1 or $2 if it's really crisp, or slightly more if it's a proof. Even if it looks odd, with plating, weird coloring, or edge difference, that likely doesn't make it worth thousands. That gold-colored one? That's probably plated and worth only face value. But if the coin genuinely seems unique, maybe the metal layer is missing, or there's doubling or something clearly off, it's worth sending it to a grader. You could get a professional certificate. If it truly is a rare recognized error, collectors may pay more. Without certification, though, asking $2,500 is just speculation, not real market value. I hope this easier, unbroken flow narrative helps you explain things clearly to your viewers. Talk about the heartfelt design featuring Helen Keller, the huge number minted, how most are only worth a quarter, how better condition ones can fetch a couple of dollars, proof and silver versions a bit more, and that true errors are not known for the Alabama Denver coin. And as always, if someone thinks they have something special, the best move is to get it graded for authenticity, not trust a random listing or guess.